This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Back at you today for episode 135. Tomorrow night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Chicago Bears kick off Week 5 of the NFL season on Thursday Night Football. And for the Buccaneers, it is their first of 5 primetime games over a 7-week span. Definitely the tone of the next month or so is going to be under the lights and how this team performs. We're going to sneak preview of that tomorrow night. Welcome back to the show. It is our game preview episode. And it's a short week, so we've got a lot of content on our hands. Did our show Monday, Bucs break on Tuesday, new show today, and a hype video today for our friends over there on YouTube. Buccaneers game on Thursday, and we're going to be back with you on Friday doing our game review. So very excited about this week ahead. Very excited about the game tomorrow night. But welcome back to the show. I am your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. Evan, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good. It's a pretty nice day out. So, with the news of Eddie Van Halen dying yesterday, we paid a little bit of tribute there in the intro. It sucks, but rip Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, 2020 strikes again, man, and it really is a shame. Eddie Van Halen, I think probably top 3 greatest guitar player of all time. I know number 1 on a lot of people's list, and I'd say number 1 on my list as well, but without a doubt, just a guy who absolutely shredded. And I mean, he paved the way for a lot of guys to just, I don't know, try and be better. Nobody really ever can. And the thing with Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen in particular as well, was the sound that he had. It was so loud. It was so unique. Like, nobody was doing that fret picking thing that he was doing back in the 80s. So rest in peace to a rock and roll legend, Mr. Eddie Van Halen. But aside from that, we do have a great show lined up for you guys today. We're going to preview everything happening in tomorrow night's Thursday night football game against the Chicago Bears. But before we get into that, I know this isn't breaking news, but we've got some awards to talk about for the quarterback, Mr. Tom Brady. Over his 20 seasons in the NFL, something he accomplished in his first season with Tampa Bay, his 21st season in the NFL, something that he has never done his entire career, believe it or not. He was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. And the only reason he hasn't done that his entire career is because he played 20 years in the AFC.
Yeah, he's never been an NFC champion before either. So
Exactly. A big year of first for Tom Brady. But he was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week after his 5-touchdown performance against the Chargers on Sunday. So definitely looking to see if he can repeat that momentum as we come up on a short week. So we've got the injury report as well. It came out, dropped on Monday. And that first list that came out was pretty concerning. I think there were 7 or 8, maybe 9 guys on there that you definitely don't want to miss the game. We've got a little bit clearer picture, so we're going to go over that injury report as we kick things off here as well. So let's just jump right into it. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, wide receiver Chris Godwin, wide receiver Justin Watson, and running back LaShawn McCoy have all been ruled out for Thursday night's game. I think we knew Chris Godwin probably wasn't going to be good to go. I'm fairly surprised to see Justin Watson not available to go. And Shady, he's got that, the grade 2 ankle sprain, the upper leg sprain. So we knew he was probably going to be missing a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, I think that Shady was definitely, once Ian Rappaport came out with, the thing like he had this injury, I think it was pretty much confirmed that like he wasn't going to play. So, I mean, the 10-day break after this game, maybe Shady only does miss 1 game, and they're fortunate because of that 10-day break. Maybe in a normal circumstance, he missed 2 or 3 games, but since you have this break, it's a little bit better. But, yeah, I was a little surprised to see Justin Watson. It said chest, which obviously you might not really be able to tell during a game, but, like, during the game, he looked fine to me. I thought he played the whole game. So, yeah, Godwin, never expected him to play. I think the goal is still to have him ready to go 100% healthy for Green Bay, which is a game that they're going to need him.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the goal, and I think probably the same thing with the next guy who's listed doubtful, who I'll let you take that, but I think he's a guy that they'll just want to keep 100% healthy for Green Bay as well.
Absolutely. That guy that you would just mention is the other running back, Mr. Leonard Fournette, with an ankle injury. He is listed as doubtful. So it's really one of those things where, I think if you push him to play in this game, kind of like you had just mentioned, I think the main focus has to be keeping him 100% healthy against the Packers. We saw Ronald Jones with 100 yards on the ground last week. I'd love to see him do it again if he's thrust into that role once again. And even if we do see Leonard Fournette, maybe we see him on a limited snap count. You don't see him as heavy in the rotation. But if we don't see Leonard Fournette on Thursday night, I don't know how upset I will really be. I don't think it'll kill me.
No, I mean, yeah, it would be nice because you need that depth, and with missing Shady also, because now this basically leaves Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn as their two running backs. So, I mean, they just didn't have time to get anybody in. I believe they were about to sign a Cedric Ware, who they cut in training camp, but with the COVID testing, it took so long. He's still going through it, I think, but they're not going to have him available for this week. So
yeah, and they're bringing in that other running back as well, just in case people don't know. Running back Kenyon Barner was suspended for 4 games for violating the NFL's policy on performance-enhancing substances. So,
the funny thing was he wasn't likely to play anyway because he had a concussion. So
right.
There's no way you're going to pass a concussion protocol in 3 days. So yeah, but he just really, I think once he gets off that suspension, I don't think the Bucs can release him right now, but I think once he gets off that suspension, he might be out of a job.
I gotta say, man, that might go down in the history books as just the worst week in the NFL. I mean, yeah. He might have had a return against the LA, but we saw him come out on that one play, get absolutely rocked, end up on concussion protocol, and the next day it is announced that he's suspended for 4 weeks. So, I mean, way to kick a man while he's down. I guess he did it to himself. I don't know, but we've heard a lot of these stories about how players, had no idea that this thing that they took in this thing would end up on this list of
fine line.
Right, exactly. But I hate to say that it's funny because I don't like, calling any injuries funny, but I think the circumstances, you can definitely just chuckle at it a little bit. Let's wrap up the Buccaneers injury report with some guys who are probably going to play. That's Big 13 wide receiver Mike Evans with an ankle injury, wide receiver Scotty Miller with a groin injury, and then, both of those guys, were listed as questionable. But here's the kicker. They traveled with the team to Chicago, so you and I were talking before the show. Pretty sure they play.
Yeah, the expectation for me all week was pretty much that they weren't going to practice Mike Evans and Scotty Miller much. So, I mean, honestly, I didn't think Justin Watson was going to practice much either, but I thought he was going to play, so that was a surprise. But, yeah, I never thought that Mike Evans and Scotty Miller were going to practice much on this short week. I think their thought process was basically, hey, rest up. I think that the best shot we can have at getting you available for Thursday is if you rest, not if you go out there and re-injure something. Evans' ankle, it's probably swollen right now, so I think he's going to gut it out, but I hope that he's able to find a way to make an impact. Could they use him as a decoy? Sure, if it opens up some other stuff, just because having him out there is notable. For a defense, they have to pay attention to it anyway. But yeah, I would expect both those guys to play. I know Miller was on the injury report before the LA game, and he played. I didn't notice that he was really hurt. It didn't seem like it really hampered his ability at all. And then he was obviously on the injury report again this week. So, like I said, I think the Bucs are they didn't want to go into this game with Tyler Johnson, their wide receiver 1. If Miller and Evans are out, that's what it would be. And they didn't want to go into this game with that. So I think they're sort of pushing those guys to play. They may be on some snap counts, but yeah, I would expect them both to be able to go tomorrow night in Chicago versus a Bears team that the strength of their team is still defense. It's Their defense isn't on the same level as it was 2-3 years ago, but it's still a very good defense, and it's a defense that the Colts really had some trouble running against last week, and the Colts have a really good offensive line. So I don't know how good the Bucs are going to be able to run the ball, and I think you're going to have to rely on the passing game. So, yeah, we'll see. Tom Brady's done it before with no-name guys. So we'll see if they have to rely on the lesser-known guys, or if Mike Evans is, Scotty Miller, they're able to step up.
Absolutely, and it's got to be a breath of fresh air for a lot of people to see Mike Evans and Scotty Miller as well, but especially Mike Evans good to go for this game on Thursday.
I know my fantasy team is breathing a thing of fresh air. I know that because I was like, phew, like if he doesn't play, like it's not killer, but prefer him out there. And speaking of fantasy, I did beat you this week, so.
It wasn't like you steamrolled me. It was projected to be a nail biter, came down to the wire. What was the difference? Like 1.7 points, I think.
I thought it was like 2 or something like that.
Yeah. I lost both of my fantasy leagues this week, by the way. I lost to you in that nail biter, and then I lost to somebody else that I shouldn't have lost to in my other PPR league because I decided to play James Conner and totally forgot that the Steelers game was canceled this week. Oh, so, if I would have put any other running back on my bench into that spot.
Just amateur.
I know. It is what it is. It's still early in the season. We have time to bounce back. We're definitely not last place, so I don't have to shave the beard again. Fingers crossed, right? But
yeah, that'd be something. You had to shave it again.
Just do the same punishment every single year.
Yeah.
So we got a sample of what this Bucs offense looked like on Sunday without Mike Evans on the field, and I got to tell you, it really just it's what we saw in the first half. It was a lot of stalling out. It was a lot of things getting shut down really before they even had time to begin. So even if you have Mike Evans out there, you play him as like a decoy, kind of like you brought up, teams are going to have to pay attention to him. So having him good to go, hopefully for Thursday night, is definitely big for this Buccaneers offense. Now, let's go over the Bears injury report really quickly. We're not going to spend much time on it because unlike every other team the Bucs have played this season, the Bears are pretty healthy. So these are the names that showed up on their most recent injury report. Safety Deion Bush with a hamstring injury did not participate in practice. Outside linebacker Khalil Mack with a knee injury was limited. He's going to play. That's not even a question. And safety Sherrick McManus with a hamstring injury did not participate. So other than those two safeties, you're pretty much going up against a fully healthy Bears team and a team that's, health-wise in a much better spot than the Bucs are right now, for sure.
Yeah, so these are 2 3-1 teams right now that are looking to kind of prove on primetime television that their 3-1 record isn't a fluke. Because if you look at it, yes, the Bears, I don't believe, are on the same level as the Bucs. I think the Bucs are the better football team. But that's when they're both fully healthy, mind you. How you look at the Bears, they beat the Lions week 1. They shouldn't have, because DeAndre Swift dropped the ball in the end zone that would have won the game for the Lions.
Yeah.
Bears ended up winning. Okay. The Lions are 1-3. So then they beat the Giants, who are 0-4. And then they beat the Falcons, who the Falcons blew the lead, and the Falcons are 0-4. And then they just lost to the Colts, who are slightly above average. So, I mean, the Bears have beaten 3 of the worst teams in the NFL. But on the Bucs side of things, the Panthers, yes, they're 2-2, but are they really that good? Consensus says no. Broncos, no. Like they had a little bit of trouble beating the Jets. And then the Chargers, who are now 1-3, like, are they that good? So I think this is going to be a game for both teams to really kind of prove that, like, hey, like, we're 4-1 now, right? The 3-1 thing that we beat 3 good teams, like, that's not a joke. We're for real. And I think it's an opportunity for both of these teams. And honestly, more so for the Bucs. If the Bucs can come out here with a banged up team and beat a completely healthy Bears squad, I think that says more about the Bucs than it does about the Bears, honestly.
Absolutely, and if they win this game, by the way, Buccaneers will start their season 4-1 for the first time in 15 years. So
I wasn't even watching football.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So this Buccaneers team,
4 years old,
definitely has a lot to prove. That's insane to really think about. Like that, God, time is just crazy. All right, so let's get into this game preview a little bit. You had mentioned something that I wanted to talk about as well, and it is the strength of both of these teams on defense. I know that 5-touchdown game last week for Brady looked awesome, but I still think that this is a team that can win or lose games based off of how well that defense plays. And, the Bears have a pretty solid defensive unit as well. And then you look at the Bucs in particular. You look at the injuries that they're facing on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is absolutely going to have to be the strong point. Brady can play well, and he can check it down to just about anybody. But if that offense stalls out like we've seen them do in the past, this could be one of those games where if points are at a premium and your defense isn't ready to play, the Bears can take it away from you before you even realize what's going on. But this defensive group for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, while they didn't have their strongest showing against the Chargers, they rank like this. They have got ranked 4th for yards allowed. They are tied for 9th for points allowed. They are tied, actually they're not tied, but they are 9th in red zone defense. They have the league's 5th best sack rate per drop back. And they have allowed the 2nd fewest first downs per game and the 4th worst third down success rate. I know that's a lot of ticky-tacky stats, but those are pretty damn impressive. When you're top 10 in those scoring categories, this Bucs defense has absolutely been rolling. And then you look at Chicago. Their offense, definitely not the strength of that football team. You got Nick Foles, who just replaced Mitch Trubisky. He did not look good at all against the Colts. He really did not. And I think
flashback to the last time Nick Foles played the Buccaneers last year in Jacksonville, got benched at halftime.
Exactly. I don't think Nick Foles is ready for this team. And I don't really think it's his fault. I don't think it's a Nick Foles problem. I think it's a Bears problem. I think it's, I said this on the season prediction show way back. Like, I think any team that is forced to make a decision at quarterback at some point in the season is doomed to mediocrity. Like, other than the Eagles, I cannot remember, and that was only because of injury. Other than the Eagles, I cannot remember a team that made a quarterback change in the middle of the season and then won a Super Bowl with that quarterback. Right?
I do.
Who?
It was because of injury, but a guy named Tom Brady took over the Patriots and won a Super Bowl after Drew Bledsoe got hurt in the second game. But
yeah, I've heard some stories about that guy.
I've heard some things, and I feel like he could potentially be a sleeper guy. I think this Brady guy, what's his name? Tim?
Tammy.
Tommy or Tammy? Which one?
We'll go Tom.
Okay. Well, it's Tommy versus Nicky this week, I guess. So, yeah, two guys that just need to prove themselves. Yeah, but Nick Foles, when you look at it, his only success has come in Philadelphia, and it's very weird because I don't know if I've seen anything like it. It's not like this is some he had some success in Philadelphia. No, he was good in Philadelphia. Like there was questions about up here on Sports Talk Radio. All I would hear is they talk about it now. Like every morning after an Eagles loss, there are callers that call in and are talking about Nick Foles still and saying that how Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, made the wrong decision and it was a mistake and this and that. They're still talking about it, and it's very weird because everywhere else that Nick Foles has gone, he hasn't been good. Now he comes in for Mitch Trubisky versus Atlanta, and Atlanta's bad, and Nick Foles just comes back. Atlanta, in their defense, the little defense that they play, in their defense, they weren't prepared for Nick Foles. They had no tape on Nick Foles currently in a Chicago offense. Now there's like a half of football from Atlanta and a full game for the Bucs to look off of. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, he's a guy you can't give time in the pocket because he can do some things. Chicago has Allen Robinson. They got Jimmy Graham, who's okay. I believe David Montgomery, the running back. So they still have some weapons. But this defense is going to have to play better than they did last week. It's especially with the offense being down. Some of the guys are going to be Mike Evans not at 100%, Scotty Miller not at 100%. Not a lot of running backs there. That are going to be dressed. And a good Bears defense that the Bucs are going up against. The Bucs defense is going to have to play very good and get back to how they played in the first 3 weeks of the season if they want to win this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big name of the game for that defense. And, I think it goes without question. Every single week, we kind of know the Bucs are going to come in and they're going to have blitz on the game plan. For a good 60% of what seems like the defensive snaps, they're going to be blitzing. And kind of like what we saw with LA, Justin Herbert, he hit those bombs when the Bucs blitzed and they got punked. And you had no safety help over the top. Or I'm sorry, you only had one safety back there. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to blitz this week, absolutely you have to hit home. I think that's the key to every defensive game plan if you know you're going to be blitzing a lot. But with those weapons that you had just mentioned, Allen Robinson is a guy who, in particular, if Nick Foles is feeling frisky, feels like he has the time, he's going to let it rip, and Allen Robinson can make you pay. But with that being said, if this defense plays to expectations, I really don't expect anything risky from Nick Foles. He'll take a shot every now and again, but the Bears offense just, for them right now, the name of the game is consistency. They have not put together a full 4 quarters of offensive football. Granted that the Bucs really haven't done the same, but I think it's a little bit different in this case.
It was like opposite day on Sunday for the Bucs, right?
Yeah.
First half, just and second half, good, right? That's how the first 3 games it was the complete opposite. And at the start of the Chargers game, you were thinking, okay, well, they're just going to roll again because they go up 7-0. And I think if the Bucs get the ball first to start this game tomorrow, it's important for them to score points on the first drive.
Yeah, absolutely. You set the tone, you get points early, and that's where this team plays the best. When they score points early, when they get on the scoreboard first. Obviously, with LA, it was a much different situation, but you get out, you're not playing from behind. Obviously it sets up a much better football game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's talk about this defense of the Bears. There's a couple of guys on that defense. Obviously, the defensive line, their pass rush shouldn't be slept on. I'm going to be watching the offensive line. And I think something else about the offensive line as well that we need to say. They've had a damn good season. Okay, 5 sacks over 4 games should definitely not be ignored. This unit.
Well, and also, if you remember those 2 sacks versus Denver, I put the blame both on Brady. So
yeah. So this offensive line has been fine. Donovan Smith has been fine. Nobody's been yelling about him this week, so he's obviously doing his job a little bit better. They've done everything that we really could have asked from them when it comes to protecting Tom Brady in the football, and you just have to continue to do that on Sunday. You give them time. You slow down Khalil Mack whatever way you can. And, of course, Akeem Hicks is another guy on that defensive line I'm going to be watching. He's playing damn well for 31 years old. But Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, you can slow down and neutralize the Bears' pass rush. I definitely think you give Tom time, throw in the pocket, and you'll see this offense have a field day. But if they can't get it cracking, the Bears' defense is playing well, and the pass rush is getting there. Could be a pretty long afternoon. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, you're going to be looking at the defense to really carry this game and maybe at some points force some turnovers to slow things down for the Bears if they get rolling. But to sum it all up, this offensive line, I'm going to be paying extra close attention Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, they not only do they have Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks, they have Robert Quinn, who Donovan Smith's going to be going up against him, and Robert Quinn's had his number. So he's going to have to play well. Robert Quinn is a guy that can wreck the game. I think they'll have a game plan for Khalil Mack, but Robert Quinn's kind of, he's kind of scary a little bit. I mean, even if Brady gets time, I mean, I know you say it could be a field day. I look at this defense. They got Roquan Smith, who's not the best in coverage, but he's a darn good linebacker. Danger Bathan's okay in coverage, but then Kyle Fuller, solid corner. Eddie Jackson, one of the best safeties in the league. Jalen Johnson, okay. And then Sean Gibson's decent. I like this defense. The Buccaneers are gonna have to play efficient, right? You can't have 1 or 0 turnovers, right? The reason the Bucs won on Sunday was because they had 1 turnover. Now, it was a pick 6. You can't have a pick 6 this game. But if they had any more turnovers, you could be talking most likely about a loss. It's most likely. What did they do on Sunday? They won the turnover battle. They had 2 turnovers to 1 for them. They need to win the turnover battle in this game. I personally think they need to record multiple takeaways against this Bears offense. I think the opportunities will be there. And against this defense, I think that you're going to have to take advantage of some short fields because I think it's going to be a little tough sledding for the offense that's not 100%. If they had OJ, if they had Godwin, they had LaShawn McCoy, they had Justin Watson, I think it would be much different. But with this shorthanded offense, a solid defense, it all goes back to the Bucs defense giving the offense those short fields, because I think that's going to be the key. Which defense puts their offense in a better situation?
Absolutely. And you look back at last year. I know that Jacksonville and Chicago were in two very different situations, but Nick Foles is a guy who obviously does not play very well under pressure. If the defensive line can overpower the Bears and the pass rush can get there, then I'm expecting multiple turnovers. Nick Foles, again, with any quarterback in the NFL, I feel like I say this every single game preview episode, but the pressure gets there, you force turnovers. It's as simple as that.
That's the name of the game with like you said, every quarterback. I've seen Bears writers this week say, well, they got to get pressure on Brady, because if they don't, you're not really going to force many turnovers. And that could be true. Foles is not a track star, right? He's not a guy that's going to be able to scramble out of those situations. So I would say be smart with the blitz, because you did just get burnt by 2 practice squad players on Sunday. And Allen Robinson is much better than those guys.
Yeah.
So I'd say be smart with the blitz, but I definitely send them, because, like you said, Foles, the more you hit him, one of the reasons he had such success in Philly was because they did those RPOs and those quick passes, and the offensive line was solid, and that's why Nick Foles was able to have success. And I think if you just hit him, like we saw in Jacksonville last year, I believe the Bucs, Devin White picked them off, and then I think the Bucs scored a touchdown on that drive, and then the very next defensive drive, Shaq Barrett strip sacked Nick Foles, and Devin White picked it up and ran it in. So, and then the Jacksonville finally got some momentum, and then there was another strip sack. So that was 2 strip sacks and a pick that they got on Nick Foles last year. They're going to need something similar to that this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Expected a big game from Devin White, who really showed up and showed out in that Jacksonville game. Now, I wanted to ask you this question for fun, because I think it's fun to think about. A buddy of mine, in particular, named Johnny B, who you can listen to on the Bucs Break every Tuesday here on CFP. We were previewing this game, and he got this thought rolling in my head. He's like, Tom Brady isn't going to lose to Nick Foles again. He's like, it's not going to happen. You remember the Super Bowl? You remember the Philly special? It. Everybody remembers. You think Brady's just got like a special notebook somewhere, and it's all these different strategies on how to break down Nick Foles, from the mental game to the game itself? He's like, all right, defense, you need to tackle him and grab him here so you can re-aggravate this injury. Well, that sounds a little harsh, but you know what I'm trying to say. Do you think Brady is just hell-bent on not losing to Nick Foles once again?
Look, this guy can still name every quarterback that was drafted in front of him.
Right.
And that was in 1998, 1999, something like that?
99.
So, okay. He has not forgotten. He has said that, that Super Bowl, that hurt him the most. He said that hurt him more than both Giants ones. And guess what? Ever since then, he's been taking it out on the Giants. He hasn't forgotten that the Giants beat him. He has not forgotten. And week 8, I think the Giants are going to find that out. He said that this one was more difficult because he had played so well and the team had played so well and they were so close. And that Brandon Graham strip sack on Brady to basically ice it, that haunts him. And he came back the next season and won a Super Bowl. And I think that he definitely, even though Nick Foles was on a different team, he remembers what Nick Foles did to his defense that day. And he remembers that Nick Foles, Tom Brady was probably the better quarterback that day, but I believe Nick Foles won Super Bowl MVP. And he remembers that, and I don't think he's going to forget it. So what you thinking he has like Steve Buscemi, Billy Madison, like a list?
Right.
Just, crossing off the names?
I like to imagine Gridiron Heights, Bleacher Report did like a parody a little while ago of American Psycho with Tom Brady, and he's got like, he's got like the plastic bag wrapped around all of his clothes. He's not tracing anything anywhere. He's a maniac. And I hope that, with everything that's been talked about, especially with the performance last week, man, maybe we just get a little bit of that unhinged, crazy, psycho Tom Brady this week. Because it's definitely exciting football to watch. And, I think we kind of have to talk about Brady for just a second, because he's definitely picked up the pace. And that's the thing. Like, I personally, obviously they were playing from behind really big, but I didn't expect him to throw 5 touchdowns in a game this season. And, maybe at this point, I know that there's still some chemistry to be figured out with the offense. I know that there's a lot of adjustments. I know you don't have Chris Godwin 100% healthy. You don't have Mike Evans 100% healthy. But I think he's just kind of figured out how to manage it, and I think he's in a much better spot as of right now than I really thought he would be this far in the season.
Well, that's why it's a shame that Howard went down, because it felt like they were really starting to get underneath themselves and really starting to get the ball rolling. And, Leonard Fournette, when asked about the chemistry things, I believe right when he first signed with Tampa, he said, give us till week 5. Well, I think there's got to be an asterisk there because Chris Godwin and Leonard Fournette just haven't been available enough. So I'll give him till week 7 or 8. But he had said basically give us till week 5 and the offense will look fine. And, it's the second half. Hopefully they can build on that second half on Sunday. Hopefully they found something in that second half and they're like, this works. They have yet, like you said, they have yet to put together a full 60 minutes of offense. There has been quarters, there has been halves where they just have looked just awful. And, it's time. You don't have to. Now, when I say a good day, I don't mean you're putting up 50 points. That's not whatever. But that's not what I mean. I mean just be efficient and be able to play 4 quarters.
28 points and a win is still a full 4 quarters and,
exactly.
A good day.
Yeah, I mean, you win 28-20, offense did its job. I don't, you can't go 3-4 straight drives without scoring, right? You have to be able to score. And I think the Bucs defense is good, but I don't think, if the Bucs offense is stalling for a half or, 3 quarters, don't think that the Bears didn't see the mistakes that the Chargers made and said, okay, we're not going to do this, right? So we're not going to let you back in the game. If it's 24-7 to the Bears tomorrow night, the Bucs probably lose. The Bears are more experienced, and they're probably a slightly better team than the Chargers are. So the Bucs will probably lose if they're down 24-7, right? They watch the same tape, right? The Bucs put all that stuff on tape, and they know. So the big thing is just be, like I said, got to be efficient. That's the number one start to having a good day on offense. 1 or 0 turnovers. And if you have that 1 turnover, it can't be a backbreaker one. Don't let it be in the red zone. Don't let it be, you throw it to the end zone and it's picked. Can't have that, right? When you have opportunities to get points, get points. But you also need to play full 60 minutes, and we have yet to see that. Does it come this week? I don't know. I honestly probably not, just because there's not healthy enough.
Short week.
Does it come soon? Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Does it come soon? I think it does. I think I'm not saying Green Bay, but I think, you're looking at Green Bay, you're looking at Vegas, you're looking at the Giants. I think maybe that Giants game is the prime one where you could see them put together 4 quarters. But it'll be key for them to play complementary football with their defense, and I think that's the biggest key for the offense. I don't want you, Tom Brady, you throw 5 touchdowns again, get the win, sure, fine. But I'd be perfectly fine with 1 touchdown, 230 yards, no picks. As long as you get the win, you're efficient enough, I'm fine with it. But just find a way to get the win.
Absolutely. And you had brought up those future games. You look at Green Bay. I think it's the first game all season where, whether you're ready or not, you have to play 4 full quarters, especially the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing right now. That Green Bay offense is humming, and he's damn near doing it by himself. Obviously, they have some weapons over there, but it's one of those games where if you're not ready to go blow for blow, you're going to fall behind and you're not going to catch back up like you did against a rookie quarterback in the LA Chargers. But ladies and gentlemen, short week means also a little bit of a shorter episode for us. So every single week here on the Game Preview Show, to close things out, we do something called the weekly checklist. I put together a little checklist of 3 things that the Buccaneers need to do to win the game this Thursday night. If they do it, hopefully they'll be 4-1 for the first time in 15 grueling seasons. So let's just get into it. The first one, shut down Nick Foles. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but the pass rush, absolutely expecting them to do their job. Pressure is the name of the game. If you're going to blitz, you're going to need to hit home. And we know the Bucs are going to blitz, so we're going to need to see them hit home, hit Nick Foles, make him uncomfortable early in the game, force those turnovers, force just bad plays, miscommunication. You know what? If you got to play dirty, get in their head, win the mental game as well. But whatever you do, shut down that passing attack or lack thereof from Bears quarterback Nick Foles. Number 2 on the weekly checklist, neutralize the Bears' pass rush. We talked about it as well. Their pass rush is not something that should be taken lightly. I think if this offensive line is not ready to go, they could get caught sleeping. You're going to need some help. You're going to be chipping guys left and right, expecting a lot of big tight end lineups out there on Sunday for the offense. But neutralize their pass rush. You keep Brady clean, give him time in the pocket. He can shred. He can pick them apart all night long. But you're going to need to give him time to do that. So a lot of high expectations for this offensive line. And Evan, for this third and final thing on the weekly checklist, I know you're going to be mad at me, but make your kicks. Ryan Succop missed a kick last week, and I'll tell you what, if he makes that kick from 44 yards out, the Buccaneers ice that game one drive sooner. So make your kicks, especially if it's a game where points are at a premium. You got 2 really good defenses going up against each other this Thursday night, and I think it's one of those things where if you get in field goal position, you're going to have to rely on him to be automatic, because at the end of the day, leaving points on the board wins or loses you football games. So that's the weekly checklist for me. Evan, do you have anything you wanted to add other than make your kicks?
Make your kicks. Chicago, Chicago's the windy city, right? And
yeah.
I just checked the weather. It's supposed to be 66 and sunny, so I don't know how much the weather's actually going to factor. I didn't check the wind. On a
Thursday night?
Yeah, well, the high is 66, but it's supposed to be like 66 at like 3 p.m. in Chicago, so I don't know. Like by the time game time,
40s by the time kickoff rolls around.
30. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
What?
Yeah.
You don't believe me?
No, it's not good. No, it's not going to be.
You don't think it's going to be in the 40s or even the 50s? Maybe the
tonight,
30s is a bit of an overreaction, but I think it's going to be a cold one.
Let's just look at it tonight, okay? So tonight, right now, it is 73 degrees in Chicago. At 8 p.m., it's supposed to be 61.
Wow.
So that's just for context.
I just thought it got colder up there for some reason. I don't know.
It does, but I'm looking at it right now. Thursday, it's a 66. Friday, it's 77. Even up here, it's like today was 75 degrees today.
Oh, boo-hoo.
And it's normally I'm just saying in October 7th, it's normally not 75 degrees. It's the weather's not really going to be a huge factor. So Ryan Succop, like you said, he missed a kick last week. And I tweeted, I said, it's fine. You're not going to make every kick. You're just not, right? And that's officially, I don't care about the blocks. That's the first kick he's missed, okay? Yeah. I know the stats are going to say that he missed 3. No, he didn't, okay? Because when they're blocked, they don't even have a chance. So that's the first kick he missed. But then he rebounded and made the rest of them. Remember, they were kicking that when they only had 7 on the board. That means he made all of his extra points plus a field goal. So it seemed like he rebounded well. Just don't let it turn into more, And like you said, with points at a premium, you're going to need your kicker to step up. I think the tight ends are also going to have to step up in this game. I think that's my checklist. Get the tight ends involved. Get Gronkowski involved. I know Gronkowski might have to be used as a blocker a little bit more, especially since you don't have O.J. Howard now, O.J. Howard's a better blocker than Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate just can't block. So Gronkowski might have to be used as a blocker a little bit, but I think having Cameron Brate there should help. Now you see why they kept him, right? It's nice to have him now. So you get them involved. The Bears linebackers aren't great in coverage, which, not having O.J. Howard's going to hurt, but that's their best vertical threat. But just get them involved, and especially with the depleted receiving core, depleted running back core, you're going to have to get those tight ends ready to go. So that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, I'd love to see Cameron Brate get much more involved. We kind of talked a little bit on the game review show last week. With O.J. Howard being put on IR this week, definitely a lot of room for Cameron Brate to step up and return to former glory that we have seen from him in the past. I think it's a really big opportunity for him to do it, and if those tight ends are definitely a part of the game plan, as you mentioned, I would love to see it. Hell, I'd love to see a Gronk touchdown this week as well.
So, per Greg Allman said, Bucs are keeping their wide receiver options open for the Bears game Thursday as practice squad receiver Josh Pearson travel with the team and could be elevated to play. So, I think that's in case of Mike Evans or Scotty Miller just not being able to go. I think they're sort of going to wait and see how they feel tomorrow, and if they're not ready to go, then they'll just bring him up from the practice squad.
Okay, and there's one more guy in that tight end room that I wanted to mention. A lot of people might have forgotten about him, but I sure didn't. Preseason hero, Mr. Tanner Hudson. I saw our buddy Chris Fisher put out a tweet the other day. He's like, I just bet the over on Tanner Hudson touchdowns this year. Think it's a safe bet?
What was the over?
That's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know what the number was. It's probably like 2.
Not even, maybe. He was a 4th-string tight end.
Hey, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you know before we wrap things up. If you want to make some quick and easy money this season, go bet some money on the Tanner Hudson over for the touchdown total this season. Because with O.J. Howard going down, Cameron Brate not always being available, and of course Gronk being double coverage anytime he, stretches the field, maybe you see a little bit of Tanner Hudson glory in that connection from Tom Brady. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Are we doing scores or no?
Say again? Are
we doing scores or no?
Oh, hell. I don't know why I always forget to do scores. But yeah, let's go ahead and do some score predictions before we get out of here. I promise it's important. I promise we don't purposely forget about it. But, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my score prediction out there first. And I have this score the way that it is, because I think you're going to need your kicker to step up, and I think he does, and he does it twice. So I have the Buccaneers winning 23-14. Now, remember, if he doesn't make those kicks, it's 17-14. So I think this is a game that could still come down to the wire, but if Ryan Succop makes his kicks at key opportune moments of the game, I've got the Buccaneers coming out on top, 23-14.
So I have this as a close game as well, and I have the Buccaneers scoring 23.
Oh, wow.
But I have the Bucs scoring 23 and the Bears scoring 20. And I'm going to predict that Ryan Succop hits a field goal with about 40 seconds left, and then the defense just holds them. I think that's what's going to happen. I think it'll be tied at 20, and then Ryan Succop will hit a field goal with about 40 seconds or so, and the Bears will have maybe one timeout or no timeouts, and they just won't have enough time, and the defense will make one last play. So I think it's going to be really tight. I think the Bucs could be down at halftime again. I think that's very possible. I would not overlook this Bears team right now. If the Bucs were healthy, I think my score would be much different if they were completely healthy. But I mean, this is a fully healthy Bears team pretty much against a banged up Bucs offense. So the defense is gonna have to play well. And I'm thinking, I'll say Antoine Winfield gets his first interception. That's a little bonus prediction I'll put out there. So Antoine Winfield getting his first pick, Ryan Succop making his first game-winning field goal as a Buccaneer, and so that's my 2 predictions there.
Hell yeah, man. I look forward to it. And as we mentioned before, one last thing before we wrap up, the Buccaneers winning this game and the status that they are with the players that they have injured and the limited capacity they've kind of got that offense rolling, it will be a testament to where I believe that this team is chemistry-wise for this point in the season, kind of what we had mentioned earlier. But definitely looking forward to the game. It is always fun watching the Buccaneers under the lights. I really wish they were wearing the red and pewter, but we're not going to see that for another goddamn month. So, I guess we got to get used to the white on white at this point. But ladies and gentlemen,
it's only a few weeks. It's week 8 versus the Giants.
I guess it would have been cool to see. They only wear red and pewter 3 times total this season, though.
Yeah,
3 or 4. It's so disappointing.
It's Well, I wouldn't mind the white, just not white on white. Why can't you just
white on pewter?
Yeah, why? Give us one game with white on pewter. I'm not asking for every game, but just give you white on white. They're wearing it this week, then they're wearing it versus Green Bay, then they're wearing it versus Vegas, and then you have 2 straight with red versus the Giants and the Saints, and you go back to white, and then I think they wear pewter or something. But just too much white, man, way too much, and then just pewter. That's all you have to do. Just wear the pewter pants.
Yeah.
Or if you don't wear the red jersey with the white pants. That's a good look.
That's what I was going to bring up. I think, I don't know if we see that this season, but I'll be honest with you. I think preseason next year, if we have one, I think preseason next year, you're going to see these guys play around with their uniform combos a little bit. I think that'll be the debut of the red jersey, white pants, because they always seem to like to do that.
Yeah, they only wear them in the preseason, really.
Yeah.
I've never seen them wear that combination in the regular season.
Back in the day, they did.
Yeah, but it's rare. It's not very common. So next year, I have a feeling next year they're going to have another jersey available
Oh,
at their disposal.
I think
So,
everybody already knows that.
I don't need to know what jersey it is. I don't need to say what jersey it is. I mean, we all know. I'm not going to say it, but I think they're going to have the pewter jersey, plus they're going to have a little extra jersey. So,
Oh, man, I am so goddamn excited. So excited. Ladies and gentlemen, dude, we could do like a whole hour show of just uniform combo talks for the Buccaneers, but let's finally wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, with all of that being said, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much for checking us out with video on YouTube or listening on any major podcast platform as well. You can find the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Pretty much the best place to go for any updates on the show, and of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host on social media, Instagram, Bucs_daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram. You can find him on Twitter as well at EvanNFL. You can find myself on Instagram and Twitter at Redicus. If you follow me, I promise I will follow you back. And we finally made it to this point. I need to say something, because people are messaging us and they're concerned. And I need to promise that there is no reason to be concerned. We've been teasing a major announcement, and we're very excited to let you guys know that we're probably going to announce it Friday or like early next week, but we really just like kind of keeping people hanging on for those who care. So if you've listened to this point of the podcast, firstly, we do appreciate you. And second, that announcement is coming soon. I promise nothing is drastically changing with the show. There's no lineup changes happening. There's nothing crazy going on. So I just want to reassure everybody that right now. But that major announcement will be dropping here soon. So definitely keep an ear out for that. We will talk to you guys Friday after the Bears game. I am Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host Evan Wanish, and we'll talk to you guys after the game. Go Bucs!